All right, hello, this is my introduction to the muscle list video. I'll be talking about this in class as well on Monday of the 8th week, but I'm gonna post this weekend, so if anybody wants to get started on their muscle list, which I highly recommend, you'll have an introduction of how it's kind of organized and the best approach. So if you'll notice on the list here, we have the first column is the muscle name, the second column is the origin, the third column is the insertion, and the last column is the action. The expectation is that you do know everything that's on this list. And just like the bone list was overwhelming, but you worked hard enough and you did enough repetition, you got your bone names and markings. So it's the same kind of thing, so it's gonna seem overwhelming at first, but again, you just keep at it, do a little bit every day, and just make sure that you are working on your muscle list between now and the last exam. So what I recommend for approaching the muscle list, before you start jumping in on these last three columns, work on the muscle names first. This is going to be the name of the muscle and where you're going to find it, either in a picture or the models, or both would be preferable. So once you know where the muscle is and you have a good idea of where you can find it on the body, then these other things can kind of be more deduced from the location of the muscle. And I'll give you some examples as we go along. When we do look at the origins and the insertions, these are referring to the attachment points of the muscle. So where does the muscle attach to either a bone or a tendon or skin are usually the attachment points. The difference between the origin and insertion is helpful when we understand the action of what that muscle does. The origin is the location of between the two attachment points where there is less movement. So for example, when you contract your bicep muscle, it is connected to your clavicle and sternum, and it is connected to your radius. When you contract your bicep muscle, it is the radius that bends up towards your forearm or towards your arm, and it's not your shoulder going down towards your radius. So the origin is going to be the clavicle and scapula for the biceps brachii, and the insertion is going to be the radial tuberosity, because that's the more movable of the 2 points. So as we go through this, I'll try to remember to highlight that as we go along. And then the action is just the thing that it does. So you'll probably start recognizing some of these words in the action column as the movements from chapter 9, those body movements like extension, flexion, abduction, adduction, rotation, those types of things, elevation, depression. So if you need a refresher on some of the movements, you can always go back and look at that in chapter 9. And then you'll also be noticing the insertions and origins are going to be markings from the bone list. So the most new stuff is going to be the muscle name. So that's why I want you guys to get started on that first. And then origins and insertions are going to be coming back to you from your bone list, and the actions are going to be coming back to you from the movements, body movements from chapter 9. So just keep that in mind when you're planning out your approach to the muscle list. That's where that information is coming from. So if you know the name of the muscle and you know where you can find it on a picture, then these other things can be, that can trigger your memory as to where it's found in the body, what body parts it might be attached to, and then once you can think about where it's attached, what that might make the body do. Okay, so I will start posting these videos in sections. So the first section I'll do is the muscles of the head and neck, and then I'll post one of muscles of the shoulder and anterior thorax. The next section will be muscles of the posterior thorax. Then I'll do muscles of the body wall. I'll probably do muscles of the whole arm together as one video. So muscles of the arm and forearm. Then we'll do muscles of the hip, muscles of the thigh, and then muscles of the leg on that last page. Okay, so that will be kind of the expectation of the videos that I'll be making using the models that you'll use in class. So this will help you when you want to study your muscle list, but you can't come into the lab space or check out muscles from the library. This is the next best thing. All right, good luck, and let's get started on our muscles.